CEUs approved, and we go to one class for about half a day or a full day, and we get our 0.6. Well, now, sadly, there's no more, in-person meetings. So at the same time, we still have to get our CEUs reported for this period. So the section has decided to actually formalize this in terms of having a virtual training, and that is by doing it over Zoom. Now, with the reason being behind Zoom, other than the other platforms such as GoToMeetings, Microsoft Teams, or Google Meet, or Google Hangout, is that most are familiar with Zoom already at this point. It's been 6 months. You've got your kids recital using Zoom, you've got your school districts using Zoom. So we're pretty sure that you guys are pretty accustomed to Zoom by now. And also with the whole changes, the budget thing that we saw today, Zoom is also a low-cost alternative to the section. And it's pretty easy to use, and it's actually one of the lowest bandwidth platform out there. I use personally Microsoft Teams and GoToMeeting. And typically when I run GoToMeetings, the fans in my PC would go on full speed, and it would kind of lag a little bit. And the difference now with the training for the section is that we are doing it as a webinar versus an actual, we call it a conference. The difference is that webinar is one way. Just like today, there are 7 of us, the panelists, that talks to the screen of 40 attendees. We cannot see you guys, but you guys can see us, so it's a one-way. This is the type of format that we'll be doing as well if you would like to have the training done over Zoom. But then with that said, since it's a one-way, you can't really see what they're doing in terms of, are they paying attention? So there are guidelines, if you will, in how to make sure that all the CEUs are accounted for and what we need to do when we submitted our submittals. So with that said, there is a requirement for a quote-unquote host to moderate the entire session. And that host is responsible for timekeeping, to make polls once each hour to make sure that attendees are paying attention, and also the flow, like what John Roth is doing right now, emceeing the entire thing. So that's needed if you're a committee or a subsection that would love to have a training done. And also, I want to point out to you the at least. It's not hard, it's not that difficult. We want to encourage you to not be scared if you want to be a host, if you're interested to become one. As you can see here on your screen, we do at least prefer that you have at least a dual screen. That way you can control, as a host, you need to control the content, you need to make polls like what Kyle's doing right now. So we're more than happy to actually have practice sessions or dry runs with you guys if you would like to have that. Now, of course, dual screen is preferred, but if you have 3 screens, like what I have in our, control center there, that's also preferred as well. Again, we have tons of ideas in order for us to make sure that you'll have a successful training and that we can continue to support our members for their CEUs and their training needs. And so what we do also, I'm gonna move over to the section's website here. There is a document, some of you may have received this already. It's a document regarding the guidelines on how to hold this Zoom training. And that includes cost, how to actually get approved for CEUs on all 3 states, because obviously when we're doing it virtually, anyone within the section can attend. And so I'm gonna switch over here. If you go onto the sections website and you go onto the About Us and on the governing documents, you'll see that on the bottom there is the 2020 webinar training guidance document. If you click that, a new window will appear, and this is the document that your committees and subsection officers should take a look into. It gives you an in-depth details on how to process your CEUs in all 3 states, and because each state has different requirements and so forth, and then what needs to be done, the day of the training, a day prior to, and the days after when you have to submit your attendee list. And also gives you the different pros and cons and every single details that you need to have to have a successful training online. So just to kind of recap also the Zoom account, the section actually have a Zoom account that can be shared as long as you requested it ahead of time. To Kyle, what we do is typically you would submit for CU approvals first, then you nail down a date, right? And hopefully that date is not a conflicting date with others that needs to use Zoom. So we do share, this is all a shared platform in terms of using Zoom for now. And there's also fees associated to it that the section has approved, and how to register. For example, you would not want to have your Zoom link as part of your advertisement. You want to make sure that only those who registered will then get the link for the registration and also the passcode if there is one. So these guidelines will give you all the single details or every single details that you need to have in order for you to have a successful training there. And I'm going back to the presentation now. Oops. So we encourage you, if you want to have a training, take a look at this document, and any questions can be presented to myself or Kyle, and we can get you set up for that. So I know that I'm going quite fast because we need to cover other tools that the section have, but if you have more questions, feel free to ask me or present it in the chat. The second platform the section has for the committees and subsections are called the constant contact. Now, a lot of you are familiar with these. It may be, an old topic, but for those who recently came on board and became an officer for a subsection or a committee, constant contact is a good platform for you to distribute and market your events. So when you want to promote your trainings and webinars out there and make sure that you get all the attendees, you would want to use constant contact. In terms of the section has one account, constant contact, for every committees, but each subsection is more than they're free to have their own constant contact. For example, the South Sound subsection, the subsection that I'm in, we have our own constant contact account separate from the section. That way we can see our own subsections activities. We can see our member engagement. When we send an email to 1,000 email address within our area, we know who responded and who opens their email and who clicked and so forth. And constant contact has been a tried and true tool to take records of all the attendees as far as their emails, who they work for, and in order for us to reach out to them at a later date. I know that Christian has mentioned about member engagement. We want to make sure the tools that we have here can actually retain those records so that we can engage with those members accordingly. And so also another thing that I want to point out, that if you are a committee using a section's constant contact, make sure to make your own folder. I'm going to go ahead here and switch again to my constant contact. And so when you log into constant contact, which the login password information will give it to you via email upon request. So once you log in here on the left-hand side, you'll see this folder. And in there, you'll see unfiled, which there are 424 email campaigns out there that are unfiled. But the rest, you'll see that these are different committees. This is a good way for each committee to organize their own folders. So if you create a folder there, you can always find your stuff in there, versus if you are looking at the main screen here, this pretty much gives you every other committee's email campaigns. So make sure you have your own folder. That way it's easier for you to look at your own committee's work, again, because this is a shared platform for constant contact here. And with constant contact, also the cool thing is once you have a event organized, you can send emails from it. You can see who has registered, and you can also cap it. For example, the Zoom, we only have a maximum of 100 attendees. So chances are when we have Zoom trainings, the most attendees that we can pull is about 100. So, and from that on, you can see the registrants' emails and also their status. For example, if they have registered but they have not paid, you can also see that, so you can always remind them later as well. So again, constant contact is a good platform to have. We've been using it for quite some time now, and most of us are already pretty accustomed to it. We can do it with our eyes closed, and we'll be more than happy to help. And each committee has their own ways of doing things. For example, the YP has different ways of emailing with their activities and so forth. You guys are free to create your own content within constant contact. So what happened is that once you create an event, you will then want to email that to everyone within your audience, right? So when you email that out, this is on your screen there on the PowerPoint, you'll see that a sample email of what we sent out when we invite everyone for our basic waterworks class. So in there, you'll see, when, where, and what that class's content is. So this resides in your inbox, or rather in everyone's inbox, so that they can see the class details and the date and all that. So on the inbox as well, you can click on that register now, and it'll take you to the registration screen where people can enter in their name and their address and so forth. So the flow of the constant contact is when you have nailed down a date. You would then schedule it with Zoom through Kyle, and then you would create your constant contact so that you can push an email invitation to others, and then when they register, you can see their registration details as well. And there's not a timeline in terms of when to send them, but we do have sort of a standard that it's good to have a constant contact about 2 to 3 months out. So let's say if you're planning for a class in January, right now is probably a good time to start a constant contact and make sure that everyone can put in a time for their employers, right? So that's the constant contact portion of it. The third component that the section
Jeremy?
Yeah.
So a quick question coming in. Laura from Northwest Oregon subsection has said that sometimes registrants are having a hard time finding the Zoom link for events, and she suggests putting the Zoom link in the registration page. And once again, I think we want to remind folks that that should be if they're paying for an event, that should be in your confirmation emails, correct?
Correct, yes. If it is a paid event, the link for Zoom should be after they register, right? So when they register and they have paid, then the link is available for them. Otherwise, anyone can just click on that link and be joined into the Zoom meeting. But if it's a meet and greet like what Chris is doing, I'm pretty sure you can just do that on the invitation page.
Since we post all our events on our website, folks could just click on that link, and next thing you know, you get some crazy nut job who's calling into your event and causing disruption. So that's why we do it that way. Exactly.
And right now I'm gonna just create one here just to show you. Constant Contact is also they actually has accustomed to a webinar as well. So if you create a new event here, and if you choose your event as online, you can also start putting your details here. And then this checkbox right here when it says show this information when people register for this event, you can check that so that you'll make sure that only those who have registered get that URL. So it also depends on the person that's doing this. Instead of having a physical location, when you're adding your constant contact event, instead of doing a physical location, you want to do a online here on that radio button. So that's another change that I also noticed that would help on when you're creating these events, to make sure that you look into, if you've been using constant contact for a while, look around a little bit. There has been minor changes because of obviously the COVID. A lot of the online platforms out there are now slowly, migrating, or I would say adapting to the COVID-19 pandemic now. So things may change a little bit. Look around, and you'll probably see some changes on that too. All right, moving along. On the next tool is the Google Suite apps for subsections and committee members. So Google Suite, if you're familiar with Gmail, that's basically it. We think Google is the most powerful tool, and also because we're a nonprofit, we get to use the Google Suite for free. So with that said, we also have all the the space that Google is giving us, and that's, I believe, up to 30 gigabyte, which is a lot. So you can store information for your committees, and that makes it easier for you to pass down to your predecessor or your officers. I can show you right now here how Google works. So this is my PNWS-AWWA Google Gmail account. And this is my drive. And again, since I am in both the section as a chair for the IT and also the subsection, I have two folders here. This is my South Sound subsection. This is the one that I share with my other officer. So if I click here and I go share, you can see that these folks are the ones that I'm sharing these folders with, which are my subsection officers. So this makes it easy for you to share documents. For example, if we have an upcoming golf tournament, you know, how do we then have our new officers on board in terms of training them on how to pull together a successful golf tournament like what we are known for? So with that, you know, we put all the documents in here, and these people have access to those documents. So whenever we're working on planning the event, we can see past year's data, we can see past year's income and loss and so forth, which vendor that we use for our food, and everything there is stored in one place. And we want to make sure it's a good habit to start. You know, if your subsection or committees don't have one yet, we do encourage for you to create one Google Drive. You can start it. You know, this is something that the admin cannot see, so we don't really see each individual's, you know, folders. But you can always ask your past presidents or your past chair to see if they have their own folder in their Google Drive account. So once you share that, again, if 1 year passes by and you have new officers, all you do is you simply go and share that with the new officer members, as easy as that. So once you add that person, for example, next year I'm going to have LaDawn, for example, here, as you can see, as our subsection, even though she's not in our subsection. Simply click on that name and she will be added into your permissions to view your folder. So it's really easy. You know, Google makes it easy. And also, if you would like to have forms, surveys for your people in your committees to see, okay, you know, on the next webinar, what kind of topics we want to take a look at. You can also create questionnaires, and this is one of our questionnaire that we did from our inspection class when we did that way back when. You can create meaningful questionnaire to gauge your attendees' interest. So for example, here I can already see that this, all the responses from that one particular survey. You can see that if we are doing a presentation, you know, what kind of presentation would people love? You know, do they like granular detailed training? 21% likes that. But most of them really love real case scenarios. Okay, so in that case, you know, we'll adjust our next construction training to have more real case scenarios. So you'll be able to have more meaningful data from using Google Apps here. And to do that, you can go back to your drive here, and on the top right-hand side, well, you'll see the keypad button there. You have your drive, docs, sheets, slides, and so forth, and also your forms if you want to create questionnaires like what you saw earlier. So Google Suite does give you a whole lot of, you know, things to play with in order for you to have a meaningful trainings, make it really beneficial for the entire subsection or committee members, so that they can gain the most out of from your committee or subsection. So Google Suite, it's right now it's still underutilized. So again, we encourage all of you to at least have an account if you're a current officer or a member of a subsection. We can create that account for you. So simply send an email to me. The email will be then at the last slide there. But we do encourage for you to use that as well. You can use the docs sheets that's similar to Excel for Windows, forms, and even photos when you have, obviously now we don't have in-person meetings, but when you have YP events, social events, gatherings, and so forth, when you take pictures, you want to upload it to your photo folder, and then you can use that for your Water Matters articles. You can use that for your publications when you want to invite for your next events. You know, on your constant contact, you can put in your pictures there as well. There are some complicated apps like Classroom, Hangouts, and so forth for remote meetings, but you don't have to use that, you know, if you're not comfortable with. But at least the forms are really useful, and the docs and sheets are just like Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. And so you can always use Google, like we talked about this earlier. You can use that to enrich your websites, use photos, and also training evaluations. We personally have been really benefited from using the whole Google app suites as well. And the fourth component, well, I guess the third one is part of the Google is also the website. As you know, each subsection and committees have their own website that's managed by someone within that committee. And so in order for you to edit a committee website, you'll have to have a section address, again, which you can request it through me. And then this email basically gives you permissions to edit that website that you're responsible for. So when you are in your subsection website, for example, here, there is a toolbar on the top right-hand side. I'm just gonna go to one, duplicate one right here. So I am in the subsections, and if you go down, South Sound, and since I'm already logged in, you'll see that on the top right-hand side, there is that pencil icon, the gear icon to show that I am now capable of editing this website. So again, once you have your email, like mine here for the section, you can edit your web pages there. And so, oh, there you go. That's my screenshot. Well, it's better to have it on the screen there. So once you have that capability, you can then tweak your websites to your current events data. You know, if you have outdated stuff, you may want to remove that as well. It's good to keep your websites updated. There's also analytics that you can install, again, by Google, that you can see how many people have visited your website and how many people have clicked on different things. I know that we have that analytics in the South subsection, and every month I do get a report on how many people are clicking through our website. We typically see a huge traffic when there's a class going on that people are, you know, going through our subsections website to figure out things, and that's how we get the word out for our member engagement, right? The last thing is the PayPal. I know that the PayPal, maybe Bob Ward will be able to give more insight on this, but PayPal has been the method to collect payments as well for the section and subsection. The section has a PayPal account to accommodate, you know, committee events that cost money. It's easier to manage that way. It's an established account. And also each subsection, when they have their own bank accounts, I think most subsections also have a PayPal account. I know that we do. When we have golf tournaments, we have, you know, a PayPal, we call it a PayPal triangle. It's basically a device that you hook into your phone and using the PayPal app in order for you to collect payments when someone shows up at a golf tournament. That can be done for raffle tickets and all that stuff as well. But I believe, you know, each subsection has, when they have their own signer for the account, they also have a PayPal triangle that they can use for. So again, this is a device that is safe. It's not, you know, PayPal is well known out there. It's a safe device to use to take payments. I know cash is also preferred, but you know, in this day and age, it's easier to manage things through PayPal versus cash, because with cash you need to have, you know, two persons present to count money and so forth. So you want to ask Kyle for the sections detail for PayPal, and you want to ask your subsection's treasurer for your subsection's PayPal account. The other thing is that I know that the triangles that we have circulated throughout the entire section and subsections are the old triangle where you hook into your headphone jack. Now, as you all may know, nowadays phones don't use headphone jack anymore. So what PayPal does is they actually came out with a Bluetooth-based dongle. So that's probably one thing that you may want to take a look into as well. I think it costs $70 for the bottom one there, the chip swipe and tap. But at least if you are running out of options of using your existing triangle with the headphone jack, there is an option for PayPal to use a Bluetooth-enabled card swipe receiver. So it may still work with yours, it may not, but this is just an option that PayPal has out there for you to look into. Again, with the current situation, I don't foresee this happening soon when we have an in-person meeting, but maybe in 2021 or so, this could be an option, or maybe it'll be obsolete by then too, who knows. But I just want to give you the word out there that, you know, things are moving along in the technological realm that we want to take into account as well. And also,
Jeremy, I think I would also jump in and add too that we get questions all the time about people saying, well, I don't have a PayPal account, and you don't need to have a PayPal account to use PayPal. PayPal is just the credit card processing service that we use. Certainly if you have a PayPal account, you could use that to pay for registration, but really it's just designed to for credit card processing. Sometimes utilities will reach out to you and say, well, we can't have a PayPal account. Well, it's once again, it's just credit card processing.
Right, that's correct. Yep. Yep. And one last thing, get on board. So the IT committee, we could receive some help if you'd like to volunteer. We can get you started, get you up to speed. Basically, we are the help desk for you guys, right? It's not a difficult job at all. It's actually fun. We get to tweak all the stuff for the section. Basically, what we want to always accomplish is how to improve all these online platforms and present it, and make sure that everyone can use it. And again, we are trying to sort of translate the word in the world of complicated, technological stuff, and we want to make it available to everyone. And that's our job, to make sure that everyone is, comfortable with using online platforms and anything that has to do with IT. With that said, I know that earlier I mentioned that if you want to be a host for a meeting, you need 2 screens and all that, right? So that is helpful if you cannot request that to your employers. Today is Amazon Prime Day, so I know that I don't work for Amazon, but if you're looking for some monitors for you to have a good host for your presentations. And,
I got a little bit of a screen envy there, Jeremy. I thought I was fine with 2, but
yeah.
man, oh man, you are totally geeking out on that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so yeah, Prime Day is today and tomorrow. Get your monitors, get your mouse, make sure your ergonomics are good. Don't get carpal tunnel like me. And yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you, Jeremy. So in the chat function there's some contact information for